Are you looking for an accessible option for summer fun for your family? Join us as we discover the innovative new program that's taking families on a journey through America's national parks. In this interview, we sit down with Dacia Jones from Expeditions and Education to learn more about Park Pioneers and how it's inspiring families to explore the great outdoors together. Welcome back to Water Prairie, everyone. We appreciate you joining us today. I have a very special guest with me that I have a selfish reason for wanting to talk to her because we haven't spoken face-to-face for a very long time, but Dacia Jones is joining me today, and you may know her as Dr. Drizzle if your child has been involved in some of the programs that she's done throughout the country and actually around the world. People know her. But today we're going to be talking about a project that she and her husband have been working on. Dacia is actually the Chief Education Officer for a nonprofit called Expeditions and Education. But going back a little bit to give you a little bit of a connection there of why she and I know each other, we met our senior year in high school. We attended rival high schools, actually, but we participated in the Junior Miss pageant for our county. And Dacia actually was awarded Miss Congeniality, I believe. Is that correct?
That was it.
That was it.
It went well.
Everyone loved Dacia. She just was that personality that everybody was attracted to. So we met them, but we became friends when we ended up at the same college, and we were classmates. Some of the class projects that we worked on together involved things such as costumes, juggling, guitars. There were a lot of things involved that we weren't sure if our professors or classmates ever knew what to expect from us coming in there. We did some clowning in the hospital. We led music with our crew group at school, and the best part was we were roommates for a year. So, Dacia, after over 35 years, welcome to Water Prairie.
Thank you. I was hoping you wouldn't mention that it was 35 years ago. I was just graduated 10 or 12, but wow, it is so good to be here and to see you in the flesh. It's been a long time, Tonya. I'm very excited about what you're doing for the community, and I love that we have Facebook, and that's how we've reconnected,
Yes.
which has been really, really nice. So thank you so much for having me. I am Dacia. My husband Steve and I live in Durham, North Carolina. Live in Durham is a little bit of a tricky word because we're only home about 100 days a year. We are on the road traveling. I'm also Dr. Drizzle in the world of STEM and avatars and comics. That's me. I'll just give you a real quick, no, I'm not a doctorate. Absolutely not. Would not, could not. Don't have the energy to go back and do anything like that. But if you remember when you were younger, the Magic School Bus, which is still pretty popular now, a new generation, she was Miss Frizzle. So when I was a fifth grade teacher, my kids would call me Miss Drizzle. And when I started working with community colleges around Western North Carolina, they came up to me one day and said they would like to award me an honorary doctorate as Dr. Drizzle. And I was like, that is so sweet, but no, I don't have it, and I didn't work for it, and I don't want to take anything away. And they said, but we're not calling you Dr. Jones, we're calling you Dr. Drizzle. So I sort of took that little idea and it just sort of ran with it. So from Canada to Mexico to Haiti to the States to Dubai, I am Dr. Drizzle. And as I said, we travel the world sharing really cool things with kids. I'm a Mimi. I have 3 little boys that live in Chicago, little grandsons, with my daughter and son-in-law, and then my other daughter is getting ready to graduate from University of Kentucky. Go Wildcats, I believe that's what it is. And I'm a teacher that 6 years ago, my husband and I were sitting on the couch, and he said, he's Parks and Recreation. He said, why don't we quit our jobs and do something together and expand and enlarge our territory? So we did, and that's what we're doing now.
Excellent. It's been, no, we'll put in the show notes the links of how we can connect with you. But those that are listening, check out all of those links. You're going to be impressed and enjoy what you see of what they're producing. But we're going to talk about some of that during this interview too. But before we go too far, we've been playing a game this season with all of our guests to get to know them a little bit differently. And it's called the game of two truths and a lie. If you've been in a youth group, you've probably played this at some point in your life. And so I've asked Dacia to share 3 facts or pseudo facts about herself, 2 of them being true and 1 being a lie. So do you have your facts for us, Dacia?
I'm going to give them to you now. I like chocolate. I've been married for 30 years, and I've broken my leg 11 times.
So those that are listening, your challenge is go either into the show notes if you're watching YouTube, go to our Instagram channel or to Twitter, find the post about this and write in your guess in the comments of what it is. A week after we release this episode, we'll come back and we'll post the answer so you can see whether you're right or not. And if you've been guessing along the way, add in your comment how many you've gotten right so far. I'm really curious how many are doing this. Welcome to the Water Prairie Chronicles, a podcast created to encourage and support parents of special needs children. I'm Tonya Wallum, and I'm glad you're here. I invited Dacia to come on today because I wanted her to tell you about a program that she and her husband have put together. But I want to go back a little bit and kind of figure out what you're doing that's larger than just the program that we're talking about. So Expeditions in Education. Tell me about that. How did it get started?
Yeah, so it is 6 years in the making. It really happened during the pandemic, where we were doing work with schools and decided that we wanted to be more equitable in schools, and we wanted to do more. But let me back up a little bit more. So I started working when we decided to go on our own. I took a job with a large company, Discovery Channel, and doing some education work for them, and loved it. But decided that just making money for big corporate was not something we wanted to do. So we left that and we formed Expeditions in Education. And our main goal was to connect educators and students to the outdoors and give them a purpose for wanting to be there by solving problems. The UN Global Goals, for example, the 17 things that we need to solve. Then the pandemic hit, and we were stuck at home for 3 months. We sequestered with all of our family, the kids, everybody here, and did all these virtual things. We reached out to schools and kids, and we were doing shows on Facebook with me and Oliver as my sidekick and doing all these really cool things. Then we decided, okay, we got to get back out. So we hooked up with national parks in 2019 and said, look, we're going to come and do some things in schools. Can we come to the park and film an interview and then share that with kids for free? And they were like, sure. So since we started, we filmed at 138 national park sites around the country. Wow. And you may be thinking, but wait, there's only 63. No, there are 424 national park sites in the country. And we thought, let's do a video of a ranger, talk about what they do, what they are faced with as challenges, and then put that out. So that's where we started with the National Parks Expedition Challenge. Kids were watching it. We were getting 1 million hits a year. People teachers let me take this. This is free curriculum. Let me pull this off. Let's watch it, and then let's solve a problem together. Then it moved into STEAM in the Park, where we said, now let's take care of teachers. So we started bringing teachers to national parks in the summer for a week-long event where they could connect, collaborate, and create. In 2021, we had 32 teachers at one park. Last summer, we had 197 teachers at 8 parks. This summer, we're taking 400 educators to 12 national parks. Through all of that, we started writing content. We're now published. We have 5 books on Amazon talking about 2 little critters, Marvin and Huck, in the national parks. So our desire to do good in the world grew. We didn't grow. It's just the 2 of us. But right now, since we started in 2019-ish, we've hit about 3.2 million kids that we have interacted with and given them the opportunity to learn more about the world and foster this idea of stewardship.
Yeah, great. I really have enjoyed what I've seen you do on your website and through your Facebook post too. But specifically what I wanted you to talk about with us today is your Park Pioneers program. Now, this is new this summer, correct?
It is. So Tonya can tell you that when we were in college together, we were very creative and out of the box and did things that were a little bit unconventional and didn't sleep a lot. And I
Yeah.
carried that with me through my years, where I have all of these ideas and I can't do anything until I get them on paper or record them or do something. So back in January, I was thinking, let me do something else on our website for free that will encompass a park and give different content pieces in it, a challenge, but let me bring families into it. Let's figure out ways families can enjoy the national parks and all of the things about a national park and then work together to solve a problem. So that's where Park Pioneers was born. And you're thinking, where did you come up with that name? Well, like I do for all things, I Google things that I think are fun, and if it doesn't show up on Google, it's mine. I'm not sure if that's exactly how trademark works, but I'm going with it. So Park Pioneers was not taken, and I added the idea of Family Park Pioneers. So right now I think we have maybe 16 of them up. I'm writing a couple new every month now because I'm having to slow down a little bit.
Okay.
But they're just different parks around the country, including some of the lesser known parks. And they're just things for parents to print off or use with their families to learn more about the world around us. I'm writing a book right now, a different book. Everything I need to know I learned in a national park. Because I think our national park should be the school textbook. It is every moment of our lives since the U.S. was created and before. So that's what Park Pioneers is. And I'm really excited that you asked me to talk about it. Right now, we're getting pushed out into libraries around the country, which
Oh,
really
wow.
thrills me for public libraries to like this. Because, you know, parents go to public libraries in the summer and for those little book reading times, and maybe they can pull one of those off a shelf and say, hey, we're going to visit this park, and then they can grab books around it and enjoy themselves.
It's a great idea. I hadn't thought about partnering that way. I think that's fantastic. Um, can you give us? I'm trying to think of how we can help a family understand kind of what this is. Can you think of maybe one of the parks and give us an example of what a family would expect, like whenever they open that file?
Yeah.
What is it they're going to see? What is it they're going to be doing?
Well, let's go to Crater Lake for just a moment. Crater Lake is
Okay.
in Oregon. Crater Lake is the deepest lake in North America and the second deepest in the world. It was created by a caldera. So it's just blue, sparkling water that is only fed by snow and rain. And when you go there, you'll realize that the pictures that Steve and I take are real. We don't filter anything. It's been around about 7,000 years. It's when Mount Mazama exploded. It created this caldera. When it was created, about 700, 800 years after that, little newts were there. Okay, so these newts are called endemic newts now. Endemic means that you can only find them in one place in the world, like they're found nowhere else. And that's just because they form their different adaptations when they're together. So they've been living there for a long, long time. Back in the late 1800s, people wanted people to come to Crater Lake. They needed some commerce. And it took 5 days to get there on horseback. So they thought, well, let's take some fish from surrounding areas and throw them into the lake. So they did. And people started coming and pulling out the fish, and that was fine. The fish and the newts were friends. But then the National Park Service in the 1918 decided they were going to put some signal crayfish in there because the crayfish could be prey for the fish and they'd have something to eat. Bad move, and they know it now. But now these crayfish and these newts are not happy, and the crayfish are bullying the newts. So if a parent, family member, grandma pulls off this file, they're going to watch a video of us there at Crater Lake so they can see we're not lying about the blue color of the water. They're going to find out about the Mazama newt. They're going to find out about the Indians, the Klamath Indians that lived there before anyone else did. They're going to learn about some of the customs of the Indians there. that still, the tribes are still in that area. They're going to have some book choices to read. There's going to be a couple of science and or history ideas, some math problems. I know you like that, Tonya. I must have been channeling you.
Absolutely.
There's math in every one of them. And then there's a challenge. So the challenge for Crater Lake is, as a family, they're going to build a humane trap to catch those signal crayfish and take them out so that the newts can live in peace. Now, you're going to like this. We've had about 33,000 prototypes built around the country for Crater Lake. There's a young girl in Tennessee, and she wanted to solve this, and she went home and did it with her mom and dad. She brought it back to us. We saw it. It's actually at Crater Lake now. She put a picture of herself in the trap, and it said, "Crayfish, it's not your fault. We don't hate you, but you got to go."
Oh, I like it.
And she really latched on to the idea of humane, like the compassion, the empathy that we need to teach kids, right? So she had all the other things. She had 2 simple machines to build a compound machine. She had a way of escaping if a newt got in. She had the retractable arm for a buoy release so that the park ranger could know it was full. But she added empathy. And I think that inspired me to add an empathetic piece to all of our work that we do now. So, Valencity, if you're watching, you know us, and you know that we love your stuff. She's the reason we add this whole idea about showing empathy for others into the park. So that's what they would find.
Wow. All right. So this sounds like it's something that any family could participate in. So they don't have to live near Crater Lake. They don't have to live near any of the parks that you're going into.
No, and here's another cool thing, Tonya. What we're trying to do is build this idea of parks are accessible for everyone, even if you don't show up. So we have kids, we'll say parents, go pitch a tent in your living room, a little pup tent for $14.99 at Amazon. Turn on the big screen TV and put some leaves around it so they think that they're there. Go ahead and get some marshmallows and put them in the microwave and make your s'mores and experience the park in the simplicity and the comfort of your own home. Or go in the backyard and fill up a little kiddie pool and throw in some salamanders or newts that you get from a fish and tackle box. So you don't even have to go to experience it. And we as adults have every intention of doing good things, but sometimes we don't. So we need to be more intentional about giving kids opportunities to solve real world problems with compassion. And this is what we feel like Park Pioneers gives parents the opportunity to do free. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to pay for the gas to get there. Now, if they go, should they go? Yes. If there's a way to get there, yes. But they don't have to. They can bring the national park experience into their homes. They can also download, and I have a link, the Junior Ranger books that every national.
I was going to ask if you're working with those as well.
Absolutely. In fact, let's see. I have all of my little Junior Ranger badges from around the country that I've been earning. So absolutely, it's not just for kids anymore.
Yep. My kids have done the Junior Ranger program at, I don't know how many of the parks that we've gotten them to, but that was part of what we always did. And one loved it. The other one, because of writing disabilities, it just was a pain. So we found ways to let him give us the answers without having to write it all down. And,
Absolutely.
And the Rangers always worked with him on making sure that he could master that. So parents that are listening, if you're not familiar with the Junior Ranger program, if you go into any of the parks, usually if you go into the front desk, you can just ask about it. They have it, I believe, at every park.
They do. And
correct?
what's even more exciting, and I'll give you the link, Tonya, is that there's a website where you can download every one of them. So they can actually have a downloadable PDF that they can do, and they can be that ranger by exploring the website or doing things at home. So it doesn't even have to be that they show up. And then they send it in, have them write that email or dictate that email, and the rangers will send them a badge. How cool
So
is
they can
that?
still earn it.
Yes,
That's excellent, and they're cool little badges. So you saw Dacia holding them up. So it is something that they can collect as they go through. So coupling that with what you're doing, they're really getting a good dive into not just seeing the park but experiencing it.
absolutely.
Some of our families have children that are medically fragile. They have a lot of equipment, and so getting around mobility is kind of hard if we're looking at like footpaths and things like that. Is this a program that those families can still participate in?
Oh, absolutely. And as I said before, ambiance is everything. So turn your backyard into a national park. Turn your bedroom. When I'm with my grandsons in Chicago, we will turn the Starlight Planetarium on the ceiling at night. And that's where we crawl into his little tent that we bought him because, Mimi's have to do all of this. And we
Right.
read stories there, or we pretend that we're in the different national parks. So I think you're only limited by your imagination. So there should be. I don't want limitations uh, on our kids. So let's take what they do and let's take what they do well, and then let's build opportunities for them to be successful. And more than that, just have the best time. S'mores in a microwave, not only are they scientifically crazy because you see them blow up and there's a whole science thing behind that, but why not?
I even like the idea of, almost anyone can take at least pillows and a sheet together to make a tent or a fort.
Absolutely.
And then having, whether they're looking out the window or at the TV, like you said, with some branches around or something, to make it that way. And I think a lot of times for parents, it's nice just to get the idea of that, of what you just shared. Not everyone's going to think of that, but it's a pretty simple thing to do. And the kids love it. I can guarantee your kids will love something like that. And
Absolutely.
if you can get out, great. I would like to know, those that are listening, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening, in the comments, leave us some ideas of where you've gone. If there's parks that you've gone to that are more accessible, leave that so that those that are reading it after you can see what you've done that's worked, and maybe they can try it out, knowing that it's worked out for you. We need to help each other with this. The Let's see. So parents that do want to go into the actual parks, they want to do the Park Pioneers program in the park itself. Do you have any advice for them of how to best do that? Do they need to print everything out at home? Like, what is it that they have that they're going to take into the park?
So that's a great question. And because this is a brand new program, we're still working on prototypes right now and proof of concept. And we have families that are trying these ideas out for us. So this could be a part of a trip. It could be that first touch. It's where they do it all at home and they do a lot of research, and then they get to the park and go, oh, there's the green crabs of Acadia. Or there's the idea of the elevator not working with Maggie Walker in Richmond, Virginia, and how she lifted people up. So they can have all this pre-stuff.
Right.
It could be printed, and maybe one or two activities if they're camping, if they're staying in a hotel every night after they've come back from the park. They say, well, let's try this activity, or let's read through this. Or it could be they just head out, and then when they come back, it's like the afterglow. Like, okay, now that we know everything, here's how can we answer these questions? How can we be this better person, this better human, and take care of our world?
Right. Excellent. So we've heard about what you're doing with the Park Pioneers. We've heard about what you're doing with expeditions and education, and the helping to train teachers across the country to be able to go back and be even stronger teachers. If someone that's listening wants to get involved and support expeditions and education, how can they do that?
Um, we are a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit. My husband and I are the staff, the founders. We sit on the board as just board members. We do have an active board of educators and people around the country that believe in our vision. We we accept donations. We accept work. Like if you want to come and do something with us or help us, We've also, can I put my plug in? Is this the
Yep.
time I can do that? We
You can.
also have just written some books.
That was
So
my next question. So, yes.
Marvin and Huck are two characters. So Marvin was a boyfriend of mine in third grade who did not like me. So I say boyfriend because I liked him and he was a friend and he was a boy, but he had no idea and probably couldn't care less. And
Right.
to this day, probably doesn't know. But since I'm putting this out here, Marvin, you missed your chance.
You might know.
So Marvin is the moose. He's a 3-year-old, out of control, hyper moose. And then Huckleberry is the bear. And I'm thinking that he's just connected to my idea of I always loved bears. In fact, when I was in college, I had bears in my dorm room with you, Tonya. In fact, I think you
Yep.
borrowed one time for an event that we did. So Huckleberry's older, much, much wiser, and sort of takes care of Marvin and lets his dreams come true. So in real life, Steve is the Huckleberry to my Marvin, although I'm
Okay.
older. We don't tell people that, but I'm older. So they go to national parks and they visit national parks, and everything is tied to our work in the national park. So if you read this and you go to Isle Royal, Crater Lake, Great Smokies, and Mammoth Cave, you're going to find the QR codes in here that link to our videos. So after you
Oh,
read each one, and then one more thing that's really, really cool, I am enamored with fireflies. I love synchronous fireflies. I love ghost fireflies. I love blue fireflies. And we use that as a symbol of light and hope in our work, knowing that a little bit of light can go a long ways. So we have hidden fireflies all throughout these books, all of
cool.
the books. And we encourage kids every time they see a firefly, they add that to their virtual pocket of what am I going to do kind. And in the back of every single book, we add a kindness journal and we give them prompts
Nice.
on how they can be kind to each other, how they can be kind to people they don't know that don't look like them, how they can be just good humans. And that's where our books that are available on Amazon. So that would help us out a lot. And then if you want to reach out to us through our website and say, look, I have this talent or I have this, or we would love to talk with anyone that would be interested in helping us promote our our vision, our dream, our the story that we're trying to tell.
So, along with that, if because some of our audience are educators that are listening in, if they would like to participate in any of your training programs, how would they just contact you through your website?
Yeah, so STEAM in the Park is our summer learning adventures. We don't call it professional development. We don't call it training, if you will, because as educators, we know they can have bad connotations. We've sat in staff meetings before and nodded
Yes.
off. So we provide professional learning adventures or experiences. On our website, STEAM in the Park will open again on January 1st of 2024. Our expectations are that we'll take 600 educators next summer to
Wow.
parks so they can get on an inquiry list now and get on our mail-in list and our newsletter. There's also a drop box in the website where they can just reach out to us, and there's like 12 things that they could choose or other. Like tell
Okay.
me really about how Tonya was when she was in college. I can do that. I can tell you all of those things.
It's
Um,
all a lie.
Probably so. But multiple ways. So expeditionsandeducation.org is where you're going to find all of our work, all of the things that we're doing now. In fact, this book started as a blog. So I blog, I journal everywhere I go. And the Adventures of Marvin and Huck have been a blog for years, well, for 3 years. And just a month and a half ago, I decided, you know what, there's no time like the present and I can't sleep. So I started taking all my books and blogs down and putting them in little chapters, if you will, and then formatted formatted it myself. All the photographs are by Steve. These are all real photographs from the park. And the little clip art dudes, those are me. Those are me.
Aw,
So you'll find all of that on our website.
excellent. And you said there are 5 books out? 4
There are
books out?
there are 5
5 books
books.
out.
I was supposed to
All right.
do one every 3 months, but I'm an overachiever.
Right. Well, I've looked through the one that you had posted first.
Yes,
Um,
please. That's a good thing. Go online, and what our first one is online. It's our prototype. It's our proof of concept. So it looks a little bit different than this. This is better looking, but Steve also reads it.
I was
So
going to
that
ask if he was the voice.
yes, he's the voice because Oliver lives in Chicago and he loves to hear us read to him. I said, well, why don't you read it? And kids are now hearing his voice all over the country, which is kind of
Right.
cool.
Right. Well, we will put the links for the website. Are you on social media?
I am. So we are big on Facebook. We're big on Twitter. We have a smaller presence on Instagram. I'm sort of like you. As we grow, I might grow bigger that way, but with just two of us, our
It's
bandwidth is
hard.
kind of short. But definitely can find us at Expeditions and Education on Facebook. We would love to have you there. And I'm on Twitter at Dacia92.
Okay. All right. We will put all that. Well, Dacia, thank you for joining me today and for telling us more about this. I hope a lot of our families will be able to plug into this and use the resource and see what it really is, and to check out the books too, because I think those would be some fun ones to add to their libraries. So
And
thank
let
you.
us know. And let us know. Like if you go to Maggie Walker National Historic Park or Dry Tortugas or Acadia, drop us a line and say, "Oh my gosh, we're there, and here's our trap." That's what
Excellent.
gives us joy.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, and through social media and through the website, they can get in touch with you. So we'll be able
Absolutely,
to get them connected. I want to hear too. If you hear of anybody, please let us know on that.
absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed learning about the Park Pioneers program and how it can help your family discover the wonders of national parks. If you want to stay up to date on future episodes of the podcast, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when new episodes are released, and you'll never miss a chance to learn something new. We appreciate your support, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode of the Water Prairie Chronicles podcast.